Let's discuss the rheumatology portion. These are the important notes and the important points for the MCQ point of view. These are the straightforward statements and straightforward concepts. There is no much very long stories or very long scenarios. So the important points which you need really for your examination, these are covered in this presentation. So, one thing, whenever you talk about the rheumatology, joints are the part and parcel of the rheumatology diseases. The most important disease, the first thing is osteoarthritis. But before jumping towards the main topic of rheumatology or main topic of arthritis, first you should have a concept about the monoarthritis, about the oligoarthritis, and about the polyarthritis. So, what is basically monoarthritis? It is involvement of the single joint, and when there is involvement of less than four joints, that is two to four joints, that is oligoarthritis. And when there is involvement of more than four joints, that is basically your polyarticular disease. This is important concept because some of the diseases are straightforward, the monoarticular disease, some are polyarticular disease. So this gives you a clue towards jumping towards the topic and choosing the right option. Then among the arthritis, there are some arthritis that are inflammatory, and there are some arthritis that are basically non-inflammatory. So inflammatory and non-inflammatory category is also important because many diseases, like important diseases, you are talking about osteoarthritis and osteoporosis and your fibromyalgia, these are basically non-inflammatory diseases. As these are non-inflammatory, there is not going to be any elevated marker like CRP or ESR in these conditions. Then monoarticular disease can be the presentation of any polyarticular disease. This is a very important concept. Many a times a polyarticular disease at the earliest presentation is presenting as one or two joint involvement as a monoarticular or oligoarticular, and with the passage of time that is converted into a full blown picture of the polyarticular disease. Then you should have a concept of the morning stiffness. There are some diseases that are associated with the morning stiffness. When you see the word morning stiffness in the scenario, some diseases should come in your mind, like inflammatory arthritis, non-inflammatory arthritis, and other conditions. If inflammatory arthritis, these are basically rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, SLE, and reactive arthritis. These are very important topics. You should take the screenshot of this particular picture because these are very important topic for the rheumatology. Non-inflammatory arthritis are osteoarthritis and polymyalgia rheumatica. There are some points that are favoring towards the diagnosis of particular disease, like in the rheumatoid arthritis, you will find the morning stiffness of greater than 1 hour, basically greater than 40 minutes. So this is a clue that if the patient is having a very long morning stiffness history, or the greater than 1 hour's morning stiffness history, that is pointing you towards the rheumatoid arthritis, and this is a polyarticular disease of the symmetrical joint involvement. Then comes osteoarthritis. Your osteoarthritis is basically a morning stiffness of less than 30 minutes. That is a short history of the morning stiffness, not that of 1 hour duration as that of particularly rheumatoid arthritis. So osteoarthritis is going to he's going to the history of less than 30-minute duration. Then comes your polymyalgia rheumatica. Polymyalgia rheumatica is a very important disease. Polymyalgia rheumatica, this is non-inflammatory. First thing to remember, non-inflammatory means there is ESR and CRP is going to be normal. Your CK, which is muscle specific enzyme, it is also going to be normal. This is the main picking point of this polymyalgia rheumatica. Then these patients mostly present with elderly patient with the non-specific inflammatory markers. ESR and CRP can be raised, but the muscle specific marker like CK is going to be normal, absolutely normal. This is basically your polymyalgia rheumatica. Then as the counterpart of this disease is fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia presents in the younger patients. Polymyalgia was older patients. Fibromyalgia is the younger patient, a young patient presenting with arthritis history, with the normal CK, non-inflammatory markers, no inflammatory markers is raised, and history of depression. This is pointing towards the fibromyalgia. So these are some important clues towards the diagnosis of these particular diseases. Then a very important topic, that is gout and pseudo gout. This is a concept should be very clear, that the gout is basically uh, you are diagnosing the gout as the negative birefringent crystals. That are yellow crystals in the form of negative birefringent. This is easy to remember. This is gout and this is pseudo gout. Gout is the deposition of monosodium urate crystals in the form of yellow crystals that are negatively refringents, and the pseudo gout is basically your calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystals that are positively birefringents, that are showing blue color under polarized light. These two are important diseases because gout is mostly painful. Pseudo gout is not that much painful as that of gout. And pseudo gout is involvement of the knee joint, basically large joints of your body, while the gout is involving the first metacarpophalangeal joint, which is most of the time your big toe. So these are some minor differences about the gout and pseudo gout that should be remembered as such. Then another important concept about the radiological finding of these three important diseases: osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and gout. For osteoarthritis, the easy mnemonic is LOSS, LOSS. L for loss of the joint space, O for osteophytes, S for subarticular sclerosis, and subchondral cyst. This is features of osteoarthritis. If we talk about the rheumatoid arthritis, here you can see the joint is basically destroyed. This is a erosive disease. The all of the structure of the bone is lost, and there is particular osteopenia. This is a black shadowing. This is not seen in the case of osteoarthritis. The bone was normal, but here you can see the osteopenia in this picture. So, in the case of rheumatoid arthritis, in the case of gout, you will find a periarticular erosion. These are the erosive diseases. Juxta-articular osteopenia, there is a soft tissue swelling. Here you can see the soft tissue swelling, joint deformity, and the loss of the joint space. This is a very important picture or important concept of the rheumatoid arthritis. Then we are talking about the gout. Gout is also the very important point for the radiology of the gout is the joint space will be normal. So this is giving a clue that the soft tissue swelling and periarticular erosion will be there, but joint space is going to be the normal in this picture. Then straightforward MCQs that confirmatory test for the rheumatoid arthritis is anti-CCP antibodies, while the initial test for the rheumatoid arthritis is RF factor. This is not basically RA, this is RF, RF factor. Then confirmatory test for SLE. SLE is also an autoimmune disease. Confirmatory test for SLE is anti-double-stranded DNA, while initial test is ANA. These are the clear-cut concepts about the diagnosis and initial and confirmatory test. Then another important concept about the drug-induced SLE. Drug-induced SLE can be easily remembered by the mnemonic HIP. HIP is basically HIP, H for hydralazine, I for isoniazid, and P for procainamide. This is showing the drug-induced SLE. And drug-induced SLE, there will be antihistone antibody positive. Otherwise, the specific antibodies for the SLE was anti-double-stranded DNA antibodies. But in the case of drug-induced SLE, you will find antihistone antibodies. These are two different concepts. Then Sjogren's syndrome antibody is going to be anti-Rho and anti-La antibody. Among these, anti-Rho is more specific. And same anti-Rho is positive in your NLE as well. So NLE also comes with the anti-Rho antibodies. Another concept about the scleroderma. Scleroderma is of two types: Crest syndrome, which is limited scleroderma, and the diffuse scleroderma or systemic sclerosis. Crest syndrome is showing anti-centromere antibody positivity, which is ACA positivity, anti-centromere antibody positivity. Then another disease, APLS, is showing your recurrent abortions, or any young patient with a history of stroke should click your mind towards the APLS. And APLS is basically a vasculitis. It is an autoantibody syndrome, and it also shows anti-beta 2 glycoprotein and anti-phospholipid antibody positivity. Another concept about vasculitis is the C-ANCA positive and P-ANCA positive. C-ANCA is specific for the Wegener's granulomatous. That is a potential MCQ that should be very crystal clear in your mind, that the C-ANCA is positive in Wegener's granulomatosis. There are specific eye findings that are pointing towards the specific disease, like in the case of if you find uveitis and the joint involvement, that is a clear-cut hint towards the ankylosing spondylitis. Uveitis is also found in the Behçet disease. But if you are finding scleritis, that is a clear-cut clue towards the rheumatoid arthritis. So eye findings are also specific for some particular diseases. SLE in the young case, cause of death is lupus nephritis. Like SLE in older age, the cause of death is cardiac. These are the different concepts. Then we are talking about the primary and secondary Raynaud's phenomena. Primary, secondary Raynaud phenomena, the most important MCQ point of view difference is that in primary, the antibodies is going to be negative, while in secondary, the antibodies are going to be positive. When will you call the disease as primary Raynaud's phenomena? When there is no associated connective tissue disease, while in secondary Raynaud's phenomena, you will find SLE and systemic sclerosis as an association of the connective tissue. And among these two, SLE is 70% of the cases. This is positively associated with this Raynaud phenomena. This is a potential MCQ as well. Sometimes in MCQ, it is mentioned that the panel antibodies are positive. They are not clear cut mentioning the specific antibody. Panel antibodies are basically your ENA antibodies. That should be clear. Another important disease, that is psoriatic arthritis. Psoriatic arthritis is just remembered by this picture, that it is on x-ray, it is showing pencil in a cup deformity. That is very important. Then it is showing onycholysis or nail pitting. There is arthritis mutilans, there is anterior uveitis and skin changes of the psoriasis. This is a very specific picture for the psoriatic arthritis. For another concept about the disease is rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever, the initial test for diagnosis of rheumatic fever is ESR, while the confirmatory test is the throat swab. This is also potential MCQ, and the culprit is also asked many a times. This is streptococcal pyogenes. For the criteria of the rheumatic fever, you all know it is Jones criteria. Jones is for joint involvement. O is just remembered as heart. So there is a myocarditis, and for nodules, which is a subcut nodule, Z for erythema marginatum, or S form Sydenham chorea. So Jones criteria is basically the major criteria of your rheumatic fever, while the minor criteria can be remembered as CAFE Pol. CAFE for CRP raised, arthralgia, fever raised, ESR. So two inflammatory markers are raised and there is a fever of minor criteria. Then Pol is for prolonged PR interval. Then rheumatism, there will be anamnesis of the rheumatism and leukocytosis. For the diagnosis of the clear-cut rheumatic fever, you should meet the two major criteria or one major and two minor criteria along with the throat swab positivity. Next, about important topic is about the septic arthritis. Septic arthritis is basically any patient presenting with a unilateral joint pain and fever and swelling of the joint. And that is septic arthritis until proven otherwise, and it is an emergency. It is caused by the Staph aureus. You can compare it with the rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever was caused by the streptococcal infection, while septic arthritis is caused by the staphylococcal infection. So treatment is going to be different. And the first line treatment for the septic arthritis is basically your joint aspiration. Then it is followed by the antibiotics. Cellulitis is also caused by the streptococcus, by the way. Osteoarthritis can be remembered by the mnemonic osteo. Osteo is basically O for outgrowths, S for stiffness, T for tenderness, E for exacerbated by the exercises. This is a very important point, that osteoarthritis is exacerbated by the exercise. This is comparable with the rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is relieved with the activity, and the osteoarthritis is aggravated by the activity. You can remember it as OA. O is aggravated by the activity. It is increased activity is causing worsening of the disease, while rheumatoid arthritis is aggravated by rest. Rest is increasing the disease. So these are the two different concepts that should be clear cut. Then again, the loss was the mnemonic for the radiological findings of the osteoarthritis. That was loss of the joint pain, osteophytes, subchondral cyst, and subchondral sclerosis, that we already discussed. The initial treatment for the osteoarthritis and ankylosing spondylitis both is paracetamol, while the initial treatment for the rheumatoid arthritis is NSAIDs. Initial treatment of gout is also NSAIDs, but specifically indomethacin among the NSAIDs is the initial treatment. Then again, for the gout and pseudogout, we have already discussed about the negative birefringent crystals, and the pseudogout is positive birefringent needle. Its gout is basically needle-shaped crystals, and that is rhomboid crystals. And gout is involvement of the big toe, and pseudogout is involvement of the knee joint. You can also remember it by N for gout, and for sodium urate crystals, negative birefringent crystals, and needle-shaped crystals. P for pseudogout, that is pyrophosphate, which is calcium pyrophosphate, definitely positive refringent crystals on polarized microscopy. P for pseudogout. So N and P can be remembered as gout and pseudogout. This is again the same thing. For the treatment of gout, You can also remember the treatment of gout as the CNIC. CNIC is basically colchicine, NSAIDs, indomethacin, and corticosteroids. These are not in an order of preferences. Your NSAIDs is the first line definitely, and then corticosteroids, and then you go for the colchicine. This is just for the memorization of the all the important points about the treatment. So there is another concept about the reactive arthritis. Reactive arthritis is simple. Most of the time, diagnosis is just asked. This is can't see, can't pee, and can't climb a tree. So there is conjunctivitis, urethritis, arthritis. That is a straightforward reactive arthritis. Ankylosing spondylitis is remembered as most of the time it is remembered as the 6 A's, but I have made it 8 A's. So anterior uveitis, aortic regurgitation in the form of aortitis, AV nodal block, apical fibrosis, Achilles tendonitis, amyloidosis, arthritis, and the young age that is favoring your ankylosing spondylitis. And ankylosing spondylitis improves with activity. That is an important finding of this ankylosing spondylitis. Then this is the main concepts about the connective tissue diseases. Among the connective tissue diseases, the first is the Sjogren syndrome. Sjogren syndrome, this is a person which is very feared of this dry eyes and dry mouth type of thing. So this is the main feature of the Sjogren syndrome. Any patient with a dry eye, dry mouth, arthritis, that is going to be Sjogren syndrome. Sjogren syndrome is associated with the non-Hodgkin lymphoma. This is an important potential MCQ, and the antibody specific is Rho and La antibodies, and Rho is the more specific one among the two antibodies. Then comes the scleroderma. We have already discussed it. Is limited scleroderma is basically your Crest syndrome. Crest syndrome is calcinosis, Raynaud's phenomena, esophageal dysfunction, sclerodectomy, and telangiectasia. This is straightforward MCQ. This is basically some clear-cut concepts about the vasculitis as well. We are covering the vasculitis as well in this important presentation. So first, that is very important for your MCQ is hot favorite topic is basically your giant cell arteritis or the temporal arteritis. Giant cell arteritis, any elderly patient who is presenting with the visual disturbances or headache and there is elevated ESR, there can be tender temporal artery and there can be jaw claudication. This is straightforward MCQ towards the temporal arteritis. Its diagnosis is important, its first line management is important, its association is important, everything is important about this particular topic. So the most important association about the giant cell arteritis is polymyalgia rheumatica. The first investigation you should do is basically ESR. You will find the elevated ESR. The most important treatment you will do is high dose corticosteroids, and the confirmatory test you will do is temporal artery biopsy. So there are four potential MCQ about the diagnosis. About the initial step is ESR, definitive step is temporal artery biopsy, and definitive treatment is corticosteroids. Then another important topic which is polyarteritis nodosa or PAN. Polyarteritis nodosa is very important. PAN, you can remember pulmonary artery is not involved. So there is no involvement of pulmonary artery in the PAN, and there is association of the hepatitis B in the polyarteritis nodosa. Then again, the initial diagnosis is ESR and CRP, and accurative diagnosis is renal or sural nerve biopsy. And the treatment is steroids and cyclophosphamide in the PAN also. This is an important topic, Behçet disease. Whenever a patient present to you, young patient, male patient present to you with the recurrent orogenital ulcers and there is a history of uveitis, you will find the pathology test positive, that is Behçet syndrome, until proven otherwise. That can be remembered as the mnemonic RUST, R-U-S-T, RUST, which is basically recurrent orogenital ulcer, uveitis, skin changes, which is in the form of erythema nodosum, and the pathology test positivity. This is a topic about the most of the time it is covered in the pediatric session, but yes, this is the important topic of vasculitis, so we are touching this topic as well. In the form of Kawasaki disease, this is a child who is having fever or redness of the both eyes in the form of conjunctivitis, strawberry tongue, rash on the body, swollen lymph node, and swollen hands. This is the typical scenario of the Kawasaki disease. Another important pediatric topic or topic of basically your a very specific topic for the vasculitis is HSP, hinoxaline purpura, which is basically a hinoxaline purpura is IgA positivity. It is a small vessel vasculitis, and it is there is involvement of the hematuria, glomerulonephritis in the form of hematuria, and skin involvement in the form of palpebral purpura. So HSP is also a potential very important topic for the exam point of view. So this is all about rheumatology. Most of the important topics are covered in this presentation. You can save it for the later use, or any other specific topic you want me to cover for specifically for the examination. You can just comment on the comment section. Thank you.